Hi, good day. I hope you are doing well. I'm Cherry from JustWay. I saw you on Thingiverse and admire you. We would like to work with you and be in charge of a slight promotion. Are you interested in it? Looking forward to hearing from you. So, I still don't know how legitimate that email was, but I do know that this video is, in fact, sponsored by JustWay. Now, don't click off just yet. I promise I have not sold my soul to our corporate overlords, and I do still indeed have my integrity intact. Here's how it all went down. So yes, I did indeed, after a very long email conversation, accept a sponsorship from them. And in the name of transparency, here is our exact deal. They would let me use their services once for free, and in exchange, I would make a video for YouTube and a post for Thingiverse, giving my honest opinions about my experience with them. As such, while I am receiving a free product, absolutely no money has changed hands, and JustWay has absolutely no say in any of my opinions. No scripts, no talking points, they won't even see this video before it's published, so hopefully you will trust that I am giving you the honest to goodness truth. Now, JustWay is a China-based custom 3D manufacturing company. From what I understand, you give them a 3D model and specify how you want them to make it. They tell you how much they think it'll cost, and then you pay, they make it, and then they ship it to you. That's simple. Now, they have a bunch of different manufacturing methods, but of course, I chose 3D printing. And once I was informed that they could print resin in unlimited colors,
I didn't even know that was possible.
I asked them to print this. This is a coin I designed based off of the in-game version found in the Pokemon TCG Pocket app. Now, I had already tried printing out a version myself, but given that the real thing contained 15 different colors, I just gave up and printed the entire design in orange. Accordingly, I thought it would be a perfect test for this supposed unlimited color resin printing they could do, so I ordered 10 of them. And as for the quality, well, I don't know yet. Shall we check it out together? Okay, I've never done an unboxing before, so, we're going off script. But I will say, my first impression is that it is, packaged quite nicely. It came in a FedEx bag. Alright, but nice little box. Well, that is certainly adequately protected. It is worth noting that I did have to check I acknowledge that there are thin walls, and that it may not be up to structural standards. I'm hoping that just means that there are small enough walls where if it was a cup or something, they couldn't guarantee that it wouldn't break in transit. But we shall see. So far, it seems very much protected. Again, this is what I made, and this is the exact file I sent them. So it should look something better than this, but maybe not as good as that. We'll see. Oh my god. Oh my god. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Holy cow. Look at that. Look at the detail on that. Look at the colors. Like, that looks awesome. And if you look at the back, wow, 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 wow. I'm not too familiar with resin printing, so I'm not sure how, like, support structures and whatnot work. I don't think it works like FDM. But usually, you would see some support defects in between the lines. On one of the sides, at least. Where the support structures had to break away. But look at that. Holy cow. Now, just for grins, it is a bit pliable. This is definitely not as rigid as, like, an FDM coin. Like, you can see, it's kind of easy to deform. So I guess you gotta be careful with that. But, I mean, if this is just a coin that you're displaying, like, that's not going to be a problem now, is it? And they all look to be of consistent quality. This one, I guess, there is some horizontal lines going there. Some little print artifacts, but overall, these guys look great. Wow, that was absolutely beyond any expectations that I had. Again, I didn't even know you could do resin printing in as many colors as you want, and quite honestly, whatever machine they got that can do this, can I have one? So, anyway.
Alright, I've swapped cameras to hopefully give you a better view, but now that I've calmed down a bit, let's give it a little bit more of a scientific once-over, shall we? Now, first things first, this theoretically is a 30 millimeter diameter coin that is 2 millimeters thick. So I have a caliper on me, and if we measure the diameter, perfectly 30 millimeters. Turn it about 90 degrees, perfectly 30 millimeters. And the thickness, 1.9, so 0.1 off. Now again, I've never resin printed anything in my life, and I wasn't even aware that multicolor prints were possible, but this is extremely impressive to me. I mean, look at the tiny details. The iris of the eye here, you can see how these colors are separated between the white and the iris. There's a little tiny black spot where you can see the black of the back peeking through, just like you should. Now, there are some defects. You can see here, the iris broke apart a little bit. There is a kind of a line. If I get the angle right, you can see there's kind of a dark line right here, as well as a little blemish right here. And I'm not sure exactly what that could be from. Again, I'm not an expert in resin printing. But other than that, the back as well looks absolutely gorgeous. It's got this little rough matte finish to it. Like I said before, there is a little bit of a rubbery give to it, but I mean, if you're using it as a display coin, that really shouldn't matter. Overall, though, in terms of quality, I am extremely, extremely impressed.
Okay, that gets an A+ from me. But of course, the quality of the product isn't the entire story now, is it? We gotta talk about the ordering process, the customer service, the time it took to ship, all that jazz. But the thing is, I don't actually know how helpful my experience will be in giving you an accurate picture of how JustWay is. Like, I'm still gonna talk about it, of course, but for one, as someone who is contacted by them specifically for the purpose of posting a review, unsurprisingly, I got really good customer service. I had my own liaison at the branding department, and don't get me wrong, she was good, always replying promptly and making sure I was tended to, but will you get that kind of service as a normal customer? I genuinely don't know. But another thing that makes my review not as helpful is the fact that I can only talk about my experience. And normally that wouldn't be a problem, but the thing is, I ordered a multicolor resin 3D print. And as far as I know, there is absolutely no option to order a multicolor resin 3D print anywhere on their website. My liaison had to walk me through the entire process, and it was really messy. So in order to do it, I had to just select the basic white option and then put in the notes that I wanted multicolor. And in order to indicate what color I wanted where, I needed to upload an OBJ file, which isn't typically used for 3D printing, but whatever, and then upload its accompanying MTL file. The MTL file dictates how the OBJ file should be colored, but the problem is the site will only accept 3D models, so if you try to upload an MTL file, it will throw an error. So then you have to upload both together as a zip file, which the site specifically asks you not to do, because if you upload a zip file, the site can't automatically access the contents of that file, and therefore it can't give you an automatic estimate as to how much it would cost. Which, by the way, cost $146.95 for all 10 coins, costing $11.99 for each piece, and $27.05 for shipping. I have no idea if that is expensive or not for this kind of service, but I do know that if you order multiple pieces, they will cost less per piece. Oh, and by the way, if you live in the US, since this is a Chinese-based company, you might get hit with exorbitant tariffs, depending on if the president feels like it or not. But to get back to the matter at hand, the website itself seems to have a ton of customization options for you to change parameters about your part. Of course, I managed to pick the most obtuse thing that you could do through JustWay, apparently, but you know, can't be helped. As for the timeline of it all, I submitted it on April 24th, and despite it telling me that it will take about 5 to 6 days to fabricate, it was finished on May 19th, 15 days later, and arrived on May 12th, 3 days later than that. Again, the site thought it was a single color print, so that might explain why the estimate was so far off, but like, update your site, please! One complaint I do have is the language. As an English teacher in Japan, I'm not the biggest stickler of always having perfect English all the time, but when your site has a big green button that is presumably the first thing customers will click on, and it says, get intent quote, like, honestly, that isn't a huge problem, but what is right underneath it, it says, free for your first order, which makes you think that your first order will be free, but in actuality, you just get something free with your first order, namely a $5 coupon. And while all things considered, my liaison's English was really good, there was one point where she literally told me that I could not write a note on my order, and then in the next sentence, she asked me to write a note on my order. As a native speaker of English, like, I figured out the typo pretty quick, but if I wasn't, that might be a bit confusing for me. Now, in order to sum up my final thoughts about the whole experience, I thought I'd do something a little differently and just address JustWay directly. So, JustWay, first off, thank you for not scamming me. I've had a few companies offer me sponsorships so far that clearly were very shifty, so I really appreciate you being my first honest-to-goodness sponsor. It was truly a pleasure working with you, and of course, the quality of your prints was great. But now for the criticisms. Absolutely, number one is put the option for people to select multicolor resin prints on your website. It is absolutely ridiculous that you have an entire service that is available for your customers to utilize should they so choose, but there is no way to select it on your website. There is so much in this review that I had to just shrug my shoulders and say, I don't know, because I had to use a really unorthodox way to order my stuff, and therefore I didn't get things like a price estimate or an accurate shipping time. Also, I think it might be for the best to hire a better English translator to go over your website and make sure everything is correct. And on that note, Cherry, make sure you double check what you're saying before you email it to people so that you make sure you are indeed saying what you want to say. Now, as for my recommendation for you, the viewer, if you are someone who is looking to have a custom part made for you, should you use JustWay? Well, the answer is maybe? Like, presumably, if you have watched this far, you understand how unorthodox of an experience I had with them. Depending on your perspective, you could either see my experience as really great or unacceptably bad. Like, at the end of the day, I did get a high quality product exactly to my specifications. But on the other hand, if you're a business, you probably don't want to have to deal with the rigmarole that I went through. But if you were a business, you probably wouldn't be trying to ask for services that weren't listed on their site, so. Overall, I hope that you have the critical thinking skills to take into account everything I've said in this review and decide for yourself whether or not JustWay is right for your needs. Although I will say, if you do choose to commission them, well, first, don't blame me if you don't like them. I'm not their spokesperson. And second, let me know how it goes. I am genuinely curious to know how other people's experiences stack up to mine. But to wrap things up, thanks again to JustWay for sponsoring this video. If you are interested in commissioning their services, you can check their link out in the description below. And for transparency's sake, I have included our entire email correspondence down there as well. So, that's it. Feel free to follow me on other social medias and subscribe. Bye.